Hey everyone, and a big welcome back to Speak More Fluently.
Great to be here.
Ever feel like native English speakers have, I don't know, a secret code?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like they're just zipping through sentences and you're struggling to catch every single word. Well, today we're cracking that code.
Well,
We're diving deep into how English speakers smoothly connect their words.
those little tricks, yeah. The things that make speech flow.
Exactly. And stick with us, because understanding these techniques, well, it'll boost your listening skills, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
But it'll also make your own speaking sound, more effortless, more confident.
It really is a key part of sounding natural.
Trust me, this is like the key to unlocking that next level of fluency. We're going to explore some practical hacks today.
Yeah, practical ways to get that smoother, more connected way of speaking. It's remarkable, really, how these subtle links change everything.
How so?
Well, it affects how we understand, like you said, but also how others understand us.
Right.
Think about when spoken English feels like a rushing river.
Yeah, totally.
Often that's because the words aren't isolated. They're blending, they're shifting, creating this continuous stream.
Okay, let's get a clearer picture then. What exactly is this connected speech? It's not just people talking super fast, is it?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Speed can be part of it, but connected speech is fundamentally about how sounds change.
Change.
Yeah, how they interact and sort of merge within words and between words when we speak naturally in a flow.
So it's about the transitions,
Yeah.
making them seamless?
Exactly. It's not just speed. There are core things happening, like sounds get weaker or even disappear. Sometimes that's reduction.
Okay, reduction.
Or sounds change to become more like their neighbors. That's assimilation.
Assimilation, right.
And sometimes we even add extra little sounds to make the connection smoother. That's intrusion.
Huh. Reduction, assimilation, intrusion. It's also like notes in music blending into a melody, maybe, instead of just separate notes.
That's a great analogy, actually. Yeah. Rather than CDE, it's more like CDE flowing together.
Right. And you said this is important for understanding and speaking. Tell us a bit more about that.
Sure. For understanding, well, knowing about these links is vital for listening, right? Podcasts, movies, just everyday chat.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're expecting these neat little pauses between every word, you're going to miss stuff. A lot of stuff, probably.
Okay, makes sense. And for speaking.
On the speaking side, mastering it helps you move away from that. Slightly robotic word by word delivery.
That's choppy.
Exactly. It makes your speech sound much more natural. And like you said, it boosts your confidence. You can just jump into the rhythm of a conversation more easily.
All right, I'm sold. Let's get practical. How do we actually start making these connections? Where's a good place to begin?
Okay, a really common and good starting point is linking consonants to vowels.
Consonant to vowel.
Yeah. So when a word ends with a consonant sound and the next word starts with a vowel sound, that consonant sound often just kind of hops over and starts the next word.
Can you give us an example? Make it concrete.
Sure. Think about pick it up.
Pick it up. Okay.
Instead of saying pick it, nice and separate,
Right.
it naturally flows together like pick it up.
Pick it up. Wow. Okay, I hear it. That K sound.
Exactly. The K at the end of pick just bridges right over to the I in it. Pick it up.
Okay, yeah, I definitely hear that difference now. So if someone wants to practice this, get a feel for it, what's a good way?
Well, a good tip is to say the phrase slowly first, really slow, and almost exaggerate, stretching that final consonant sound into the next vowel.
Stretching it.
Yeah. So for pick it, you might practice saying pie, peek it. Really feel that high connecting.
Pie, K it.
Yeah.
Got it. So you kind of hold on to the consonant just a tiny bit longer as you move.
Precisely. Just enough to bridge the gap smoothly.
Okay, cool.
Look.
What's another key type of linking?
Next up is vowel-to-vowel linking.
Okay, two vowels meeting.
Right. When a word ends in a vowel sound, and the next word also starts with a vowel sound.
What happens then? Seems like there'd be a gap.
Well, to make it smoother, speakers often insert a very slight extra sound, usually a J sound like in yes, or a W sound like in wet.
Oh, interesting. Like a little helper sound.
Kind of. Sometimes even an R sound, though that's a bit different. We can talk about that. But yeah, J and W are common.
So your mouth is sort of automatically gliding.
Exactly. It finds the easiest path. For example, take see it.
See it.
You'll often hear it sound more like see yet.
See it. Ah, there's that little J sound.
Yep. It bridges the E and the I. Another one, go on.
Go on.
Often sounds like go on.
Go on with a W sound. Okay.
That subtle ho helps connect the O and the on.
That makes total sense. So for practice, what's the approach?
Again, start slow. Consciously experiment with just gently putting that J or W sound in between the vowels. To say, see yet, go one slowly. Feel how it links them.
Feel the glide. Got it. Okay, that's really helpful. Now, what about consonants? When one word ends in a consonant and the next starts with one.
Ah, yes, consonant to consonant blending. That's another key one.
Blending, so they merge.
Pretty much, especially when the two consonant sounds are identical or very similar, like they're made in the same place in the mouth.
Okay.
Often, only one of those sounds is really pronounced clearly, or it sounds like one slightly longer sound.
So give me an example.
Think about best time.
Best time, two T sounds.
Right. But instead of a very clear best time with two separate tape puffs of air, it often blends into best time, just one slightly held T.
Best time. Yeah, it's smoother, less effort, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's articulatory ease, less work for your tongue and lips.
Okay, so it's about efficiency. How do we practice that kind of blending?
The key is to try and run them together smoothly, like they're one sound that you just hold a fraction longer. Practice saying best time, focusing on that single blended T.
Okay, run them together. Got it. These basic linking types are a great foundation.
They really are.
Now, you mentioned some essential connected speech hacks earlier. Let's dig into those. First one was reduction. What's that about?
Reduction, yeah. This is huge. It's all about how common, often grammatical words, like function words.
Like to or and or have.
Exactly. Those kinds of words tend to get shortened or weakened in casual speech. Their pronunciation gets reduced.
Weakened how?
Like the vowel sound might change to a schwa, that little sound, or sometimes syllables just drop off. They aren't stressed, so they get minimized.
Right, those little helper words that aren't carrying the main meaning.
Precisely. Think auxiliary verbs, prepositions, articles.
Okay. Can you give us some really common examples, things people hear all the time?
Oh, definitely. Have to almost always becomes have to.
Have to. Yeah, I have to go.
Exactly. Or going to becomes gonna.
Gonna. I'm gonna call later. Classic.
It's super common. And want to becomes wanna.
Wanna. Do you want to come? Yeah.
Those are everywhere.
They really are. Now I'm thinking about it, you hear them constantly. So how can listeners start using these naturally without sounding forced?
It really starts with listening. Train your ear. Notice these reductions in songs, podcasts, conversations.
Actively listen for gonna, wanna, hafta.
Yeah. And then just try imitating them. Say them out loud. It might feel a bit weird at first, maybe a little self-conscious.
Yeah, maybe like you're being too informal.
Possibly. But the goal is just to get comfortable with these relaxed forms. They are standard in spoken English.
Okay, so listen lots, then imitate. Got it. What's next hack? Assimilation. What's going on there?
Assimilation. This is when a sound changes slightly to become more like a sound right next to it.
One sound influences its neighbor.
Exactly. It makes the transition smoother, requires less effort for your mouth to move between the sounds.
Less effort again. Our mouths are lazy.
Yeah. Efficient. Let's say efficient.
Okay, efficient. Can you give us a clear example of assimilation?
Sure. Take Green Park.
Green Park.
You might often hear it pronounced more like Green Park.
Grima. With an M. Why?
Because the N sound at the end of green comes right before the P sound in park.
Okay.
And it's easier for your lips to go from an M sound where your lips are together straight into a P sound where they are also together than to go from N, lips apart, tongue up, to P, lips together.
Ah, so the N changes to M because of the P Green Park. Okay. Any others?
Yeah, a similar thing happens with, say, 10 bikes. Might sound like 10 bikes.
10 bikes because of the B?
Yep, the N adapts to the following B sound. Both M and B involve the lips coming together.
That's fascinating. Our mouths are clever little machines. How can learners practice this? Identifying it and using it.
Well, you can look for common clusters where this happens, like N before P or B. Or T before J often becomes chi, like gotcha becomes gotcha.
Gotcha.
So identify those patterns. Then practice saying short phrases or word pairs with those sounds. Really focus. Does that first sound change a little?
Focus on the sound change. Okay. All right, reduction, assimilation. The last one was intrusion. What's the deal with that?
Intrusion is basically adding an extra sound between words. Again, to create a smoother link.
Adding a sound, like the J and W we talked about with vowels.
Exactly like that, but it can also happen in other places and sometimes involves a different sound.
Which sound?
The most common intrusive sound, especially in non-rhotic accents like standard British English, but you hear it elsewhere too, is an R sound.
An intrusive R, where does that pop up?
Often when a word ends in a vowel sound like air, like in law, or a schwa, like at the end of idea or sofa, and the next word starts with a vowel.
Okay.
So law and order, you might hear law and order.
Law and order. Wow, yeah. Or like, I saw a movie.
Exactly. Could sound like, I saw a movie.
I saw a movie. Huh. That's really common, isn't it? Should learners actively try to do that? Put the R?
That's a good question. While it's definitely a feature of natural speech for many, I'd maybe suggest learners focus first on the other types of linking consonant vowel, 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 JW, consonant blending, and also on reductions and assimilation.
Why is that?
The intrusive R can sometimes sound a bit unnatural if the rest of your connected speech isn't quite there yet. It's maybe a slightly more advanced feature to get right.
Okay, build the foundation first. Good advice.
Yeah, get comfortable with the core linking and reductions. Those will make a huge difference already.
Right. So now we understand how words connect.
Yeah.
What are some really practical ways to practice all this stuff?
Okay, several good techniques. One I really like is micro-dictation.
Micro-dictation, tiny dictation.
Exactly. Listen to very short phrases, like just 2 or 3 words. Things like hold on, turn off, pick up. And you write down exactly what you hear, not what you think the words are, but the sounds, the links, the reductions.
Focus on the connected sounds.
Precisely. Then compare what you wrote to a transcript if you have one, or just listen again really carefully. It trains your ear intensely.
That sounds really effective for listening skills. What?
Shadowing. This is another powerful one.
Shadowing. Like following someone.
Kind of. You listen to a native speaker and you repeat what they say almost immediately after them, like their shadow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You try to match everything, their rhythm, their intonation, and crucially, how they link their words.
Sounds challenging.
It can be at first. Start with short, simple clips, maybe from an interview or news or a clear podcast segment. Don't try to shadow a whole movie right away.
Good tip. Start small.
Yeah. It feels weird, but it really helps you internalize the flow and the connections.
I can see that. Mimicking the rhythm. What about longer sentences? Sometimes they feel overwhelming.
Yeah. For that, chunking with visual cues is great.
Chunking. Breaking it down.
Exactly. Take a sentence like, I'm going to the store this afternoon, and break it into natural phrase groups. Like, maybe, I'm going to go to the store this afternoon.
Right, where the natural little pauses might be.
Yeah. You could even underline or highlight these chunks on paper. Then practice saying each chunk smoothly, linking within the chunk. Then link the chunks.
I'm going to go to the store this afternoon.
Okay.
That seems manageable.
It breaks it down into smaller, linked units.
Smart. What if you're practicing alone? No one to talk to.
Self-recording and playback. Incredibly valuable.
Using your phone?
Yep. Record yourself saying a sentence or maybe a short dialogue. Then listen back. Critically.
Ooh, scary.
It can be, but it's so helpful. Listen for where you missed links or where you could use a reduction. Then re-record. Try to make those changes. Compare the recordings.
You become your own coach.
Exactly. It builds so much awareness of your own speech patterns.
Fantastic idea. And what about using like real world stuff? Music, podcasts.
Oh, absolutely. Music is great, especially songs with clear, maybe slightly slower lyrics and a steady beat.
Yeah. How would you use a song?
Get the lyrics. Read them while you listen. Mark where you hear links or reductions. See how want to becomes wanna in the song. Then sing along. Try to imitate the singer's pronunciation, the connected sounds. It's fun, too.
Yeah, much more fun than grammar drills and podcasts.
For sure. Conversational podcasts, YouTube channels aimed at native speakers. Anything where people are just talking naturally. Focus on the informal stuff. That's where you'll hear the most connected speech.
Just soak it in.
Soak it in. And maybe try shadowing short bits, too.
Okay, these are all really solid practice techniques. Any general tips for making the learning stick, making it more effective?
Yeah, a few things. First, when you practice speaking, maybe slow down just a little bit initially. But don't overpronounce each word separately.
Right. Still aim for flow, just slower.
Exactly. In fact, maybe even exaggerate the links slightly at first when you're going slow. Really feel that connection. Then you can gradually speed up as it feels more natural.
Exaggerate, then refine. Okay.
Second, focus on mastering really common phrases. Those chunks we talked about.
Like the examples you gave.
Yeah, like what I gonna do, or I have to ask, yeah, or I don't know. Learn those as whole connected units. It builds momentum.
Learn them as chunks. Smart. Anything else?
And, if you can, visual feedback can be interesting. Some pronunciation apps or software show you a waveform of your speech.
Like seeing the sound.
Kind of. You can sometimes see where sounds connect smoothly versus where there are maybe unnatural breaks. Not essential, but can be helpful for some people.
Cool. Okay, now I know some learners worry. They hear about linking and reducing and they think, am I just going to sound like I'm mumbling?
Right. That's a really common fear.
Yeah.
And understandable.
How do we address that?
It's important to stress that good connected speech is not about being unclear. It's about natural flow and rhythm. But clarity is still key.
So flow doesn't mean mushy words.
Not at all. Clarity comes from control. The idea is to learn how to connect sounds smoothly and efficiently, not just slur everything together. Start slow, focus on control, maybe overlink slightly at first, like we said, then build speed. It's a controlled technique.
Okay, so control leads to clarity, even with connections. That's reassuring. Any other common hurdles people face? And how to get over them?
Well, consistency is a big one. People start strong, then practice tails off.
Yeah, life gets busy.
Totally. But even just 5 minutes a day, really focused practice, like one micro-dictation or shadowing one short clip, is way better than one long session every 2 weeks. Keep it regular.
Short and consistent. Got it. What if you feel stuck, like you're not improving?
The plateau. Happens to everyone. When that hits, try mixing things up. Find a new podcast, switch music genres, try a different practice technique, or, if possible, find someone to talk to, a language partner. New input often helps break through.
Variety and consistency. Okay, this has been super insightful. Can we just quickly recap the main takeaways?
Absolutely. So we've seen connected speech is really crucial, both for understanding English as it's naturally spoken and for making your own speech sound more fluent and natural. We looked at the main ways words link up: consonant to vowel to vowel with those little J or W sounds, and consonant to consonant blending.
Right, the core links.
And we explored those key hacks: reduction, like gonna, wanna; assimilation, sounds changing, like Green Park; and intrusion, adding sounds like the R and order.
The hacks, yep.
And importantly, we talked about practical ways to practice: micro-dictation, shadowing, chunking, self-recording, using music and podcasts. These are things you can actively do.
Things you can start today. And really, mastering this stuff is a potential game changer, right?
Yeah.
For fluency, for confidence.
Oh, absolutely. When you start actively listening for these connections and consciously applying them, you'll notice a difference. Your listening gets sharper and your speaking just starts to flow better. It feels more natural.
So for everyone listening, here's a final thought, maybe a little challenge. The next time you listen to English could be a song, a show, anything really tune your ears in. Listen specifically for how the words aren't separate. Notice the blends, the little reductions, the connections.
Become a connection detective.
Exactly. Be aware of it. And then just think, how could I start trying that? Just one little connection. Maybe you might surprise yourself how quickly you start to hear and feel that difference.
Great challenge.
Thanks so much for breaking all that down for us.
My pleasure.
And thanks everyone for tuning in to this deep dive. We'll catch you next time right here on Speak More Fluently.